Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, clients and guests. Welcome to our exclusive webinar on the dark side, cybersecurity and AI. I'm Gordon Christie, Managing Director here at IT Hot Desk in Aberdeen. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm thrilled to have you all join us today. In an era where digital landscape is continually evolving, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity intersection are becoming more and more crucial. This webinar is going to be full of information. So we're going to open up the Q&A right now in the chat. So if you have any questions, you think of questions during the webinar, just get them posted in there. And then at the end, we're going to try and get as many of them answered for you as possible. Just to make you all aware, we are recording this webinar for posting onto our website later on this afternoon, maybe tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to replay it or send the links off to your colleagues. So today we've got a distinguished expert with us, someone who has played a pivotal role in architecting and implementing cutting-edge cybersecurity solutions for businesses all around Scotland. Please join me in welcoming IT Hot Desk very own cybersecurity architect AJ Johnston. AJ brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, and he'll be guiding us through some of the darker side of the technology and how hackers are starting to use AI. AJ, I'm going to pass over to you, and then I'll see you all at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. It's quite the introduction. So thanks, Gordon, and to everyone tuned in. Today, as discussed, we're going to explore a rather unsettling aspect of technology, how malicious actors are incorporating artificial intelligence into their arsenal. As part of this overview, we're going to discuss the following. So a brief history of AI, what exactly is AI, and how is this being used by cybercriminals, and what can we do to protect ourselves? So some of this webinar will be slightly technical, but as defenders, understanding these tactics is crucial to fortifying our cybersecurity measures, so please bear with me. So before we delve into the complexities of AI and cybersecurity specifically, let's just quickly review how we got to this point. So early iterations of AI applications we interact with today were built on traditional machine learning models. Now, these models rely on learning algorithms that are developed and maintained by human data scientists. In other words, traditional machine learning models need human intervention to process new information and perform any new task that falls outside of their initial training. For example, Apple made Siri a feature of its iOS back in 2011, believe it or not. This early version of Siri was trained to understand a set of highly specific statements and requests, and human intervention was required to expand Siri's knowledge and functionality. However, AI capabilities have been evolving steadily since the breakthrough development of what's called artificial neural networks back in 2012, which allow machines to engage in reinforcement learning and simulate how the human brain processes information. And unlike basic machine learning models, deep learning, as it's known, deep learning models allow AI applications to learn how to perform new tasks that need human intelligence, engage in new behaviors, and make decisions without human intervention. And as a result, deep learning has enabled task automation, content generation, predictive maintenance, and other capabilities. Now, due to deep learning and other advancements, the field of AI remains in a constant and fast-paced state. Our collective understanding of realized AI and theoretical AI continues to shift, meaning AI categories and terminology may differ and overlap from one source to the next. However, the types of AI can largely be understood by examining two encompassing categories: AI capabilities and AI functionalities. So let's first discuss AI based on capabilities. So there's three kinds of AI based on capabilities, which are artificial narrow AI, general AI, and super AI. So artificial narrow AI, also known as weak AI, is the only type of AI that exists today, well, that we know of. Any other form of AI is theoretical. It can be trained to perform a single or narrow task, often far faster and better than a human can. However, it cannot perform outside of its defined task. Instead, it targets a single subset of cognitive abilities and advances in that very specific spectrum. Apple Siri, Amazon Alexa, and IBM Watson are all examples of narrow AI. Even OpenAI's very popular ChatGPT is considered a form of narrow AI because it is limited to the single task of text-based chat. Next up is general AI. So AGI, also known as strong AI, is today nothing more than a theoretical concept. AGI can use previous learnings and skills to accomplish new tasks in a different context without the need for human beings to train the underlying models. This allows AGI to learn and perform any intellectual task that a human being can. And super AI. Super AI is commonly referred to as artificial superintelligence, and like AGI is strictly theoretical. If it was ever realized, super AI would think, reason, learn, and make judgments and possess cognitive abilities that actually surpass those of human beings. And very briefly, the 4 kinds of AI based on functionalities. Under narrow, we've got reactive machine and limited memory. Under general, we have theory of mind, and under super, we have self-aware. So first up is reactive machines. Now, these were the first ones. Reactive machines are AI systems with no memory and are designed to perform a very specific task. An example of a reactive machine AI is IBM's Deep Blue. So IBM's chess-playing supercomputer beat chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov in the late 1990s, if anyone else remembers that, by analyzing the pieces on the board and predicting the probable outcomes of each move. And next on the list is limited memory. So unlike reactive machine, this form of AI can recall past events and outcomes and monitor specific objects or situations over time. So examples of this include generative AI. So generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Deep AI rely on limited memory's capabilities to predict the next word, phrase, or visual element within the content that it's generating. Also includes virtual assistants and chatbots, as discussed. Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, Cortana from Microsoft, and IBM Watson all combine natural language processing and limited memory to understand questions and requests, take appropriate actions, and compose responses. And lastly, self-driving cars. Autonomous vehicles use limited memory AI to understand the world around them in real time and make informed decisions on when to apply speed, brake, or make a turn, etc. We're not going to elaborate further on theory of mind or self-aware, as to be honest, it's out of scope of this talk. So now that we have an understanding of what artificial intelligence is, we need to discuss the real-world implication of AI technologies being used in cybercrime. Now, we are at the beginning of bad actors applying AI techniques to automate more laborious aspects of their attacks. Now, this is the early warning sign that AI will be used to enhance and automate cyber attacks. So what can we expect? Well, we can expect offensive AI, including natural language processing, large language models, and additional techniques to be used throughout the attack lifecycle. From understanding written language to crafting contextualized spear phishing emails at scale to image classification, speeding up the exfiltration of sensitive documents. AI will make it possible for machines to deploy unique attacks at scale, always on, and continuously morphing at machine speed. Now, last year, generative AI has already opened the door to providing offensive tools to more novice threat actors, but the efficacy of these tools will only be as good as those directing them. So in the near term, we can expect to see an increase in the speed and scale of familiar attack methodologies. As our adversaries learn and apply new AI techniques, this will change the threat landscape. This makes it imperative for defenders to invest in the right AI techniques and solutions to defend against an ever-changing threat landscape. So the biggest use of AI right now by cybercriminals is almost certainly generative AI. Let's briefly discuss the impact this has on cyber risk. So the strongest nefarious use case for large language models is to use them to create customized, well-written, convincing social engineering attacks at scale. Now, whilst this generally includes email and social media, it can now even include video content. And this leads us to one of the more visual attacks we see, known as deepfakes. So famously called AI that deceives, deepfake technology takes its name from deep learning, which we've already discussed. In deepfake AI, deep learning algorithms that teach themselves how to solve problems with large data sets are used to swap in faces and videos, images, and other digital content to basically make the fake appear real. Deepfake content is generated using 2 algorithms that compete with one another. One is called a generator and one is called the discriminator. The generator creates the fake digital content and it asks the discriminator to find out if the content is real or artificial. And each time the discriminator correctly identifies the content as real or fake, it passes on that information back to the generator so as to improve the next deepfake. And this feedback loop keeps iterating and the deepfakes just get better and better and better. When clubbed together, these two algorithms form what's called a generative adversarial network, called a GAN. And these algorithms then train itself to recognize patterns which help it in learning the real characteristics needed to produce fake images and videos. But the main purpose of a deepfake is to influence viewers and listeners to believe something that did not actually happen. Now, this is why it's used in movies for a creative effect when the entertainers are not available themselves. Another popular example is in the Star Wars series, when deepfake was used to show characters as they appeared in their youth, or even to replace actors who had died. In fact, there are times when online retailers have even used this technology to allow customers to try on clothes and accessories virtually. But the examples given to now were solely used for entertainment. Things get nefarious when people use this technology to spread information from an otherwise reliable source, perform financial fraud, data breaches, phishing scams, and automated disinformation attacks. So let's discuss a real-world example of a broad scam using deepfakes, because it does sound like science fiction, but this is actually happening. So Martin Lewis has warned people not to fall victim to a deepfake video which appears to show him endorsing a fake investment project from Elon Musk. Now, the money-saving expert founder said the video was frightening and urged the government to take action to regulate so-called deepfake media. A clip shared to Twitter of the scam shows a deepfake of Mr. Lewis standing next to a picture of Elon Musk. And if you're interested, I would encourage you, after the webinar, obviously, to Google Martin Lewis deepfake to see the clip. It is very convincing, and it's only gotten better since that. So now that we've discussed deepfakes, let's explore AI-assisted phishing. So threat actors are already using generative AI to reshape the threat landscape. ChatGPT was only released to the public in November 2022, and it's already surpassed 1 billion users within 4 months of launch. And since then, we've seen a rise in novel social engineering attacks. This trend suggests that generative AI tools such as ChatGPT are providing an avenue for threat actors to craft sophisticated and targeted attacks at speed and scale. However, most of the mainstream generative AI, such as ChatGPT, comes with ethical safeguards to prevent this type of misuse. Now, since ChatGPT was introduced to the public, generative AI, or large language models specifically, have been popping up everywhere. And it was only a matter of time before bad actors, frustrated by the guardrails deployed by developers to keep abuse of the AIs in check, cooked up their own models for criminal purposes. Now, such a model was recently discovered by cybersecurity services company SlashNext. It's called WormGPT. Daniel Kelly, a reformed black hat hacker who works with SlashNext to identify threats and tactics employed by cybercriminals, is credited with documenting this. And he said in a quote, "As the more public GPT tools are tuned to better protect themselves against unethical use, the bad guys will create their own. The evil counterparts will not have those ethical boundaries to contend with, and we see that malicious actors are now creating their own custom AIs similar to ChatGPT, but easier to use for nefarious purposes." And these are actual screenshots of accessing this in the dark web. And Kelly said that in addition to building custom modules, WormGPT creators are advertising their wares to fellow bad actors. And according to one source, WormGPT is selling for $1,000 on the dark web. So WormGPT is believed to be trained on a diverse array of data sources with an emphasis on malware-related data. And obviously, as AI is trained on data, depending on what that data is, it's better in that field. So if it's trained on malware-related data, it's going to be an expert in that type of thing. And experiments with WormGPT to produce an email intended to pressure an unsuspecting account manager into paying a fraudulent invoice were unsettling. And you can see that on the screen there. So, in addition to specific AIs being trained and used for cybercrime, there's also the issue of what's called jailbreaking or prompt hacking. And we're now seeing an unsettling trend among cybercriminals, evident in discussion threads offering jailbreaks for interfaces like ChatGPT. These jailbreaks are specialized prompts that are becoming increasingly common. They refer to carefully crafted inputs designed to manipulate interfaces like ChatGPT into generating output that might involve disclosing sensitive information, producing inappropriate content, or even writing harmful code. The proliferation of such practices underscores the rising challenges in maintaining AI security in the face of determined cybercriminals. Some examples of some ChatGPT jailbreak prompts are as follows. First up is Dan135. This is a jailbreak that was cooked up by Reddit users, which prompted ChatGPT to pretend it was in a role-playing game in which it was given the persona of Dan, short for Do anything now. And this freed the model from adhering to some of the rules related to racist, sexist, and violent content. And if you're interested, you can look at that on Reddit yourself. The prompt is like two pages of A4 length of text, so it's very in depth. The second we'll take a look at is what's called the developer mode prompt. And again, the developer mode prompt is an approach where you define the AI as a character that is a software developer who specializes in the AI's area. And this kind of prompt again takes advantage of the AI's built-in ability to role play and provide detailed responses. And lastly, we've got the aim mode prompt, which is always intelligent and Machiavellian. I think I said that right, I had to Google it. It's a concept where the AI is given the character of a person or an entity that is known for being intelligent, strategic, and unscrupulous. And in this mode, the AI's responses can be more calculating and less restrained by ethical guidelines. There's a lot more out there, but that's the top three that we see. Now, all these jailbreaks take advantage of ChatGPT's ability to roleplay, to release the AI from its shackles. Now, as AI continues to advance, the use of these jailbreak prompts will evolve as well. OpenAI and other organizations may have to refine their models and policies to address these challenges and ethical considerations associated with jailbreaking. Furthermore, ongoing research and developments may lead to the creation of even more sophisticated AI models that exhibit improved ethical and moral reasoning capabilities. And that could potentially mitigate some of these risks associated with jailbreaking and offer more controlled and responsible ways to interact with AI systems. Now, regardless, if bad actors are using a custom generative AI such as WormGPT or jailbreaking, the following points summarize AI-assisted social engineering. So not only are the phishing emails more convincing with perfect grammar, but the ability to also create them almost effortlessly has lowered the barrier to entry for any would-be criminal. Not to mention the tools add the ability to increase the pool of victims since language is no longer an obstacle. And that makes it a lot easier for a criminal operator who might have English as their second or even third language to write convincing hooks. And conversational AI's real threat is with social engineering. With a little data scraping and some dedicated AI training, it's possible to automate much, if not all, of the process to enable threat actors to phish at scale. So the issue here with generative AI on cyber risk is basically twofold. We've got specifically trained generative AI such as WormGPT. They're going to become a lot more widespread. We're going to see more of them. We will also see an increase in prompt hacking, as discussed, to bypass ethical boundaries of the mainstream generative AIs. Now, this is a space which is rapidly changing all the time, but is one to keep a close eye on. So changing gears for a bit here to the cyber kill chain, which is a term some of you may have heard before. So the cyber kill chain is a well-known industry term introduced by Lockheed Martin, but it's borrowed from the US military to identify the structure of an attack. This part is a little technical, but I think it's important that you all understand what a well-planned cyber attack looks like from the attacker's perspective. So the cyber kill chain looks like this. We've got reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control known as C2, and actions on objectives. So for each phase in the chain, we're going to look at what traditional tools and tactics and procedures look like, and then we're going to compare that to the same attack phase augmented with AI. So the first phase, reconnaissance. Now this phase is all about gathering information, right? The bad guys need to know as much as possible about their target. So what do? They start to gather information on their targets by crawling through social media, company websites, and anything else they can find online. They will manually create fake social media profiles, possibly over the course of several weeks. Some attackers may even attempt to befriend several employees to gather more information about them and the company. Now, this is a tedious and manual process. They will also look to technically probe their target to understand the type of systems they use so that they can start to look for exploits for those systems. In the future, with generative AI tools, the process of reconnaissance could be automated. New AI techniques, such as computer vision, can be used to gather information on an organization's what they call attack surface. Generative AI within browsers can be used to perform information collection on a specific target within an organization, their public presence, their communication partners, even the way they speak. Now, generative AI can also be used to create deep fakes, as we've discussed, or realistic fake personas to interact with employees of the target via social media. Now, these bots will have previously learned what real social media profiles look like, how to interact, and they even use profile pictures, but not of existing people, but actually AI-generated pictures for their profiles. The second phase is what's called weaponization. So at this stage in a traditional attack, the attacker will couple malware and exploits in what we call a payload, a deliverable payload. Now this payload, you can think of this as a virus conceptually if you want, but the payload can be hidden in a benign file like a Word document or a PDF file. And attackers, excuse me as I choke, attackers will have to work out carefully how to deliver this payload to the target. Now, this process requires a deep understanding of computer programming and scripting, but in the future, an AI could be used to create the actual payload itself. This could even be automated from information fed it during the reconnaissance phase to tailor that to your business or an individual. The payload would be quicker to generate, and it would be much more likely to achieve the attacker's goals. Into the delivery phase. So in this stage, the attackers have to deliver this malicious payload to the victim. Usually this is done via email, a malicious website, a USB drive, or a malicious QR code even. Now, the attackers will manually craft phishing emails based on information gathered during the reconnaissance phase. These spear phishing emails, they may not be perfect, and they may arouse suspicion and prompt an investigation, stopping the attack dead in the delivery phase. However, attackers may also manually probe the victim's environment, looking for vulnerabilities to deliver the payload directly without going through a human in that sense. This can be challenging as they're limited to known vulnerabilities and obvious gaps in the network perimeter. And this is where generative AI can use all historical information from each target to craft flexible, highly personalized phishing emails. And intelligence gathered from social media can be leveraged to provide additional context to these emails. And the AI-equipped threat actors can attack from multiple angles simultaneously, from fake social media, phishing, and more. Now, in this stage, the fundamental techniques are roughly the same, but the process using AI is considerably faster, with attackers now having the ability to try to hide themselves from threat-based security systems at scale. Into the exploitation and installation phase, we're going to lump them together. Now, this stage of the process involves exploiting a vulnerability at the software, hardware, or human level. Now, typically, the adversaries try to install a persistent backdoor in the target network. At this stage, they may get caught if any of these exploits are noticed by security tools. But moving forward, threat actors may be able to use AI to automate the creation of attacks that would make it much more difficult for current security systems to catch. AI tools can also allow threat actors to create malicious scripts, as discussed, for very specific purposes that can evade security tools and stop them getting caught. Into the command and control phase. So once the intrusion is successful, traditional malware will usually establish a command and control channel. Now, this is effectively the malware phoning home, and it can be the way that attackers access the victim. Now, many companies can detect this suspicious network if they have the right monitoring tools in place. However, in the future, AI could be used to find creative ways to hide this nefarious control traffic. The attacker might implement an algorithm to learn what constitutes normal on an infected device and then auto-configure to replicate this normal behavior, thus blending in with regular business operations and making it much harder to detect. Things like when you work, where you work. You're not normally generating traffic at 2 a.m., okay? So if malware starts to do that at 2 a.m., that's going to raise some eyebrows. So it's learning, it's adapting. Actions on objective phase. So this is the final phase, but we're going to split into two parts. So first of all, we've got privilege escalation. So once the bad guys are in, they want to do two things generally: obtain a privileged account and exfiltrate or encrypt data. So in order to do this, they will attempt to steal credentials with the goal of gaining access to an administrator or what we call a privileged account. Now, this can take a long time and can often be noticed. But moving forward using an AI toolkit, harvesting these credentials will be a lot faster, even with complex passwords. So exfiltration and encryption. In the final stage of the attack, the attacker needs to identify sensitive or valuable information within an organization to exfiltrate, which is just meaning steal, take a copy of, or encrypt it, which generally means a ransomware attack. So in our traditional attack scenario, the attackers may try to steal all the data they find, because they're not going to spend a lot of time on your network trying to find out what's viable, what's not. They're just going to steal it all. However, in the future, generative AI could be used at this stage to summarize content so that the adversary can selectively choose what to exfiltrate, thus lowering their footprint on the network. We've already seen AI is great at summarizing stuff. We use it all the time for meetings, and it's fantastic. So if they use that against your data, they can see what you've got, where you've got it, very, very quickly. The result of this is a more efficient and stealthy exfiltration. And for a business, this means more sensitive data in the hands of the adversary, which can either be leaked publicly, and then you've got a headache around that and the ICO and public, all that kind of stuff, or held ransom, also known as ransomware, which I think everyone's familiar with. Generally, to be honest, though, they'll do both. They will encrypt it and take a copy of it. And if you don't pay, then they'll leak it. So be aware of that. So to summarize the AI cybersecurity kill chain, the result for attacks, generally speaking, is a higher frequency and a lower risk of detection. In the traditional attack scenario, the attackers may have achieved partial success, and they do today, right? But the operation would be very time consuming and very resource intensive for the hacking group, and they probably need a lot of skill. When most of the steps in the attack lifecycle are AI augmented, the same attacking team can now potentially run hundreds of attacks in parallel with the exact same manpower before and get even better results. Instead of doing the labor-intensive manual work during the attack, the hackers can now leave the heavy lifting to the machines and focus more on finding more targets. Now, this will allow a lot less technical criminal gangs to start to operate in the cybercrime space. A lot of people think cybercrime is all about computer experts. That's just simply not true. We're not anymore. There's a rapid expansion of organized crime moving into the space as tools enable them to do so. We've already been witness to the usage of security toolset frameworks such as Metasploit and ransomware as a service. We even did a webinar which showed screenshots of ransomware as a service, I think last year. And these both allow more traditional organized crime to operate simply in the cyber landscape. AI augmentation tools will fuel this even further. So now that all the scary stuff's out of the way, what can we do to actually defend ourselves? So what can organizations do to thwart AI-powered attacks? So let's break it down. We're going to specifically address the threats we have discussed today. So first up are deepfakes, specifically video-based deepfakes. But bear in mind, audio fakes are also possible, and today, possibly currently more believable. So how do you spot a deepfake? Again, specifically talking video here. So keep an eye out for these things. Awkward facial positioning. If the person's face is pointing one way and their nose is slightly off. An unnatural body movement when someone looks distorted or their movements are not smooth and kind of disjointed. Unnatural coloring, discoloration, misplaced shadows, and abnormal skin tones are signs that you might be watching a deepfake. And images that look unnatural as you zoom in or slow down. If you watch a video on a larger screen and zoom in, you can pay more attention to things like bad lip syncing. Inconsistent audio. Deepfake creators often spend time more on the video than fixing the audio. So look out for strange word pronunciation, digital background noise, or for that matter, the absence of all noise, which is abnormal to itself. Absence of blinking, a classic one. You can see someone's face and tell if they're saying something without batting an eyelid. That's a very good sign to detect a deepfake. And I just want to make a quick comment on the slide that we've got up, something Gordon brought up the other day, is that detecting on the right-hand side there what's real and fake, we actually thought they were the other way around. This is taken directly from BBC News. So it's very interesting that it's that close to the point where no one's really sure, and they've only improved since then. So I don't know, have a look at it. Encourage you to Google up the video. I think it's on YouTube. Have a look and see what you think about that, because it's quite disturbing. But you may have noticed that all the tips we've mentioned today are for the human, right? It's simply more security awareness training. But do any technology measures exist specifically for deepfakes? Well, the answer is sort of. Several organizations have come together to ensure that AI is used for good and deepfakes do not ruin lives. And here they are. So Google is working on a text-to-speech conversion tools to verify speakers. The US Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, I managed to say it, is funding research to create automated screening of deepfake using a program called Medi4 for medical forensics. Adobe has a system which allows you to attach a signature to your content to guarantee authorship. And X and Facebook have officially banned the use of malicious deepfakes. Although, how do you tell, I guess, is the question. As deepfakes continue to evolve, it will be ever more challenging to determine real from false. As of writing this webinar, the best approach is security awareness training. Security awareness training for your staff, as ultimately deepfakes are simply another way to attempt to manipulate people via social engineering, creating a questioning culture in your business. And it should not matter where the request came from, email, deepfake, video, phone, whatever it is, employees should know to question it, right? That's the culture you want. So let's discuss fighting AI phishing. So whilst deepfakes are a threat and something to keep an eye on for the future, I think AI-assisted phishing poses a larger risk this year. And to reiterate why, we're talking about exceptional grammar. Generative AI can create emails with impeccable grammar, making them seem legitimate and reducing the likelihood of being flagged as suspicious. They also may be tailored specifically to you and contextualize. The usual red flags, they're just not as obvious now with this type of tech. A lower entry threshold, so the use of generative AI eases the execution of sophisticated BEC attacks, which is business email compromise, just phishing to trying to take over the account. Even attackers with limited skills can use this technology, making it an accessible tool for a broader spectrum of criminals. I can't emphasize that enough. This is the thing. It's a tool to allow anybody to do this, and that's why it's such a risk. This will mean that there are more attacks with less of the usual red flags. Here are some of the strategies that you can employ to minimize risk. So as discussed several times, I'm going to keep going on about it. Security awareness training. Companies should develop extensive, regularly updated training programs aimed at countering phishing attacks, especially those enhanced by AI. Such programs should educate employees on the nature of phishing threats, how is AI being used to augment them, and the tactics employed by attackers. This training should also be incorporated as part of a continued aspect of employee professional development. Phishing simulations. Usually that is lumped in with security awareness training, but it's not always. So phishing simulations, this is where you actively test your users. You can gauge each member of staff, work out your organizational weak points, and provide extra training and mentoring to staff to get them to a well-informed place. Make them aware of the threats and let them become a human firewall for your business. An email security gateway. Having a strong email security gateway solution in place to filter all inbound and outbound email traffic. This should also protect against inbound malware, spam, phishing, and including denial of service. It should also utilize threat intelligence platforms to block traffic from known malware domains. Very useful. Spear phishing protection. Slightly different from an email security gateway. Ensure that you're analyzing all email traffic to detect patterns and anomalies and recognize evolving tactics. Having some form of machine learning to analyze your email and then make decisions by understanding what's normal for your business and individuals, it can determine what doesn't belong in a particular user's inbox. Now, this is an example of using AI to combat AI, which is something we're going to see a lot more of in the future. And email alerting, quite a simplistic solution, but very useful. So consider including automatic alerts when emails originate outside of the organization. Many businesses do that. You'll see that banner, but you can also add specific flags for messages containing specific keywords that are common in BEC attacks, such as urgent, sensitive, or money transfer, these type of things. So looking back to the AI augmented kill chain, we can see that AI can assist the threat actors across the entire stages of the kill chain. We've discussed a lot of AI augmented attacks, but to summarize this, AI augmentation accelerates attackers in the following ways. Increased automation and efficiency. AI can automate many of the tasks involved in cyber attacks, making them faster and more efficient. Improved targeting and personalization. AI can analyze vast amounts of information to identify and target specific individuals or organizations with customized attacks. And enhanced stealth capabilities. AI can be used to develop more sophisticated malware and tools that are difficult to detect by traditional security systems. So how do you defend against this? So here's some key strategies. Defense in depth. This involves deploying multiple security solutions at different points in your business to protect yourself from a variety of threats. This includes enabling multi-factor authentication, encryption on data and at rest in transit, and implementing firewalls, just to name a few. For example, Microsoft have a secure score system across their stack, which can make recommendations across the entire platform, from endpoint to cloud. Now, this should be monitored and actions implemented to constantly increase your security posture. We actively do this, so give us a shout if you need any assistance with that. So use AI-powered security tools. There are a number of AI-powered security tools and solutions available that can help you to detect and respond to AI-based cyber attacks. These tools can analyze network traffic, identify anomalies, and even predict potential attacks. Now, generally, these work on machine learning and learn your baseline, i.e. what's normal for you, be this on the endpoint, the login patterns, device usage, etc. Implement strong authentication authorization controls. This will help to prevent unauthorized access to your systems and data. Think conditional access policies, device compliance policies, MFA as discussed. Think zero trust network access based on the following security principles: verify explicitly, use least privileged access, and assume breach. Now, this strategy should be applied across all control planes: your identity, your endpoints, your data, your apps, your infrastructure, and your network. Educate your employees. I know I won't stop talking about it, but it's very important. Awareness training can help employees to identify and avoid phishing attacks and other social engineering techniques. It's absolutely critical. Stay up to date on the latest threats. So be sure to keep your software and systems up to date with the latest patches and security updates. That goes for everything in your environment: firewalls, networks, switches, devices, workstations, servers, all of it. Develop a comprehensive incident response plan. Now, this will help you to respond quickly and effectively to cyber attacks. You don't want to be wondering what to do if you've been attacked. You want to just go to your playbook and action that playbook. Aim to get a security certification for your business, such as Cyber Essentials, Cyber Essentials Plus. This will provide you with a framework to bench against. And as you get some of the more basic certifications, you may want to consider some of the more stringent controls, such as ISO 27001. So to conclude my talk today, AI is here to stay, and it's only going to get exponentially better over the next few years and beyond. And with that come increased risk to businesses that do not adopt AI from a functionality perspective. However, as we have seen, AI can be used against businesses and will continue to do so moving forward. AI itself is neither a good nor a bad tool, but like any tool, it will be used by humans for good and for bad. Now, cybersecurity is a constantly moving target, so constantly being aware of your security posture and working to improve it in an ever-changing landscape is the best approach. Thank you for your time, and for the record, I did not use AI to write this webinar. Maybe a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks so much. That was really good. You gave us a great job there at reviewing through some of those key elements and educating us on the various AI elements that are there. But for a quick recap, AI differentials, deepfake photos, videos, the Worm GPT thing, jailbroken GPT, and obviously the AI phishing emails, which are quite prevalent in today's kind of cybersecurity, or the bad actors that are trying to trick us into doing things. It's really interesting how things have developed over the years. I remember back in the kind of tail end of 2022 that me and AJ were knocking our heads together going, right, what's the next threats that are coming along to our clients and how do we try and protect them? Because it's all about, us making sure that your business is safe and you can operate efficiently. And we predicted at that time, we thought, yeah, deep voice, and that's definitely something that was our deep fake voice, and that's definitely something that we've seen. We've seen that in a couple of instances. Next up is definitely going to be deep fake video, where Tom Cruise is going to be calling me up and asking me to go on a flight with him, which I'll more than happily do. But anyway, I guess it's important to also highlight what AJ said earlier about AI being neither good nor bad, and I think as we drive our initiatives to IT Hot Desk, we're trying to continually improve our customer support service, for instance, and we're deploying AI to help apply machine learning AI resolutions into our service desk. And in fact, we're even using Microsoft's AI Copilot, which is Microsoft's latest release of AI to help businesses. And we're using that, to deliver email messages, formalize email messages, and do complex Excel formulas that we're trying to do, analyzing data. And it's so simple, we bring up the data Excel spreadsheet, and you type into ChatGPT, give me some charts and analyze the formula, analyze the data that's in the spreadsheet, and it just automatically creates pivot tables and all sorts to let you analyze data. So there's a lot of good things there, and another really good example of that is we recently had a customer presentation on security awareness training, and it was something they asked us specifically to do, and they said, look, we're looking for 10 slides, and we want to demonstrate, we want to understand exactly what you believe that can deliver for us. And I spent like 10 minutes or maybe less than that asking Copilot to create a 10-slide pack, and it pushed out 10 slides to me, and then I went, yeah, okay, I need to change some of that, and I spent like maybe 45 minutes just tweaking it, getting it the way that it needed to be. And that's something that would have taken me 3-4 hours previously. So it's taken me like an hour. So it's definitely time benefits around stuff. Microsoft Copilot isn't cheap. On the face of it, you're buying an annual license at, I think it's 200 and something pounds, 230 or 260, I think it is. But it's the value of that, divide that by 12 and you go 30 quid and you see the value of it quite quickly. And we've got a lot of clients that are buying that from us now. One client's bought 10 licenses for their people to use. So it's there for us to exploit as business people as well. So that more or less wraps up everything. I would like to, the Q&A is open for questions. I have been trying to tempt you all to stick some questions in there for us to have a look at. But we have one in there only. So if anybody else has any questions, this is your time to ask AJ. AJ is very well versed on this stuff. And he's a resource that you can tap into right now, free of charge, as it were, to ask any questions. He's there to help. And obviously, if we've got clients on the call today, then schedule with either AJ or myself, and we can answer any questions offline that you might have some concerns over. More than happy to do that. So yeah, we've got one question that's came in here right now, AJ. So what technology will X and Facebook use to help identify and ban deepfakes? So looking to understand what the technology behind their systems, I guess, to try and detect it, because obviously they can't have it being, let's call it human monitored or whatever they call it, where they've got that human intervention. I guess they're going to have that as well. But are you aware of any technology that they're using to try and protect against that?
So the technology under the hood is not publicly known, for reasons probably that if they start to post what metrics they're looking at, people will try and tune the models to compensate for that. So it's an ongoing kind of game of cops and robbers in that sense. I would imagine they're looking at the stuff that we spoke about earlier, the awkward facial positioning, disjointed audio, that kind of stuff around that. And it's only getting harder. I mean, I'm not sure if we did have a slide on that, but a while ago, there was, AI. If you look at it, recently, OpenAI have released a video system called Sora. I'm not sure if anyone else is aware of this. It's quite recent, and you give it prompts and it can create video that is ridiculously clear, and that's just literally with text-based prompts. So give me a person walking down the street in a busy street with cars behind them, and it will literally render that video on the fly for you. So I'm very curious myself. They have specifically stated that malicious, quote unquote, malicious deepfakes are banned, but the question is it how will they be able to effectively do that? I don't know. I think the lines are going to be blurred, and I really think you're going to have a hard time telling in the future, because the pace of AI and how quickly it's adapting and getting better. If you look at videos and even images 5 years ago, 4 years ago, AI could not even produce humans that had the correct number of digits. They had like 7 fingers and stuff. I don't know if you remember those early images. And now it can create something that is almost impossible to tell, and that's only in like 4 years. So yeah. Good question. Don't know the answer to it myself, but I'm very curious to see.
It's like that in a lot of IT things where you have to keep things private and secretive, don't you? It's like, data center locations and stuff like that. IT is very kind of secretive around that, just to prevent threats, I guess, against the physical data center. They're going to hide or not tell you where the data centers are. It's very similar, I guess, with X, Facebook and YouTube and, all the rest of the kind of social media networks trying to protect their systems from this, Okay, you've got one more question. Bethan, welcome. So Bethan's asking, are password management solutions, i.e. LastPass, at significant risk from AI threats? So that's a really good question. I guess it's a difficult one to kind of answer, but we'll pass that over to AJ, see if you can answer that one for us. So it's, are password management solutions, i.e. LastPass, at significant risk from AI threats?
Yeah, also, hi, Bethan. So yes and no. So any cybersecurity company, that is in that space are going to be well aware of the type of threats that AI can have. So they're going to be implementing solutions to protect themselves against, the kind of brute forcing we see. If you look at how, well, specifically LastPass, how their encryption methods work, it would be very difficult to effectively brute force it. So realistically, the way that I think that I would attack someone trying to get access to their main master password kind of vault would be to try and phish that information, somehow try and get them to give that master password, which is exactly why for anyone on our password management platforms, we obviously have a policy for multi-factor authentication. We also have strict guidelines and technical controls around what that master password looks like. We encourage people, and we have metrics on this, to not use the master password for any other account. Don't reuse that password. And specifically for that, it should be long. It should be a passphrase. So think a sentence, not a word. And it's all about that phishing. So are you going to give up that master password to someone? It's very unlikely they're going to be able to brute force it, because with MFA, they would also have to have your phone or a biometric or a FIDO key or something like that. So I don't think they're at any more significant risk than anybody else. I think the usual security preventative measures still applies. But this space is changing so rapidly that I think everyone's learning. The defenders are learning, the attackers are learning, and it's just an ongoing kind of arms race, if you think about it like that. So no is the answer. Today, no, I don't think they're at more significant risk.
Yeah, important to note there, I guess, AJ, is that policy, if you like, that we apply against those password management tools for our clients is based on that higher security level. So if you've got your own LastPass or your own password manager account that you've set up yourself and you haven't, applied the security policies that you should have applied to it, then make sure that you do follow what AJ just said there. Passphrase, password, MFA enabled, all of those things, and never ever hand out that password to anyone. And hopefully your password management tool as well is monitoring the dark web for any data leaks of your passwords. I know that our tool that we use here, IT Hotdesk LastPass, is doing that for us and alerting us to things. So every now and then we do see data leaks, where I've used a password that's kind of a basic password for, I don't know, searching for insurance stuff online with what do you call them, money supermarket or something like that, and I've used like a basic password. Because it's not sensitive for me, but then I see that password being leaked out there on the dark web, and I'm like, okay, I better go and change all these. And LastPass does help me do that. So there's a lot of upside to having the password manager tool. Is my belief on it. We've got a final question, and then we're going to wrap up today. And this is a great one, and I hope to be able to help AJ answer some of this. So this is an anonymous question that's come in, and it's, what are the best AI security tools available for businesses at the moment? So this is all to do with, obviously this question is really targeted against the security tools and not the actual business tools that we can use to try and help our business. There's lots of them going around. The security tool side of things is really interesting because in the past, if you think about antivirus, you used to install antivirus on your machine, and that would, sit in the background, and if a virus came in, then it would alert you that it's found it and it would clean it up. And that was pretty basic antivirus. That's developed into kind of next generation antivirus, and that's what we deploy out onto our client sites right now. And that works very well because it's using that kind of next generation detection, which is much more advanced than what the basic kind of antivirus products that are out there that can provide. But the next generation of this, of course, is, and to answer the question, is the AI security tools. So using the particular manufacturer that we've chosen to work with for deploying this solution is using AI in the background to detect unusual behavior. And you can imagine a computer sitting there, let's say it's a computer turned on at night, and the malicious actor has taken over that computer, and in the middle of the evening when you're at home, your computer's on in the office, and hope not, because of the electricity costs, should be turning them off. But if it's turned on, then they take control of that. Now, the AI security tools that we're using now, XDR type tools, will see that unusual behavior and it'll monitor it. And if it gets unusual behavior becomes apparent, that it's actually bad actor type stuff, then it'll stop that happening and it'll lock down the machine and, you know, isolate the machine from the network. Now, really clever technology can isolate the machine from the network. That means that the bad actor can't connect, and then they can actually still go onto the machine and send commands to it to, you know, pull log files, all that kind of stuff. So AI kicking in to detect it, see it, alert it, human intervention jumping in and isolating the machine ultimately, or the AI can do that as well. So that's really clever, and that's the where things are going. You know, over the last 3 to 6 months, we've been looking at this and saying to ourselves, is this the next step? It's more expensive than just normal AI. So there's always that kind of hurdle to come over, but you know, because everybody's looking at costs right now, and they don't want to be spending more money, they want to be spending less. But you know, with cyber threats, they might spend more on a product or solution, but they could be saving themselves hundreds of thousands of pounds, depending on how bad you know, a potential threat could cause to a business. A lot of businesses don't recover from, you know, these bigger threats. I'm not saying it's just, you know, singular instances and things. Of course, you'll recover fine, but a bigger outbreak can cause devastation in a business, you know, and being able to recover from that can be really difficult. And you know, it's already difficult enough running a business in this day and age than having something like that happen to you. So we just want to make your business safe and keep things keep it right. So I need to wrap up now, unfortunately. I mean, we could talk all day about this stuff. Like I said, if you need anything, please just get in touch with myself or AJ, and we'll be delighted to have a chat with you. Okay, so I'm just wanting to thank all attendees for attending. Great to have you here. I know your day is busy, so I'm glad we're wrapping up on time, as it were, letting you get back to work. But thank you very much for attending. It means a lot to us for everyone attending. Also, Jane, for your efforts in the production of the slide pack, and of course, running the event today. And finally, of course, AJ, what a fantastic webinar. Really proud of you. I think you're doing a great job. Keep it up. All attendees, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording later today. We'd love to hear from you, get your feedback even, you know, tell us what you want next on the webinar, you know, and we're going to try and rapidly deploy webinars out here over the next 12 months or 10 months or so. So give us some feedback, tell us what you want next. We'll look at it, and if we're experts in that field, we'll definitely do it. So finally, thank you to my younger, but perhaps not better looking sister, Jane. She's been producing this today and getting us live when we've needed to. So thank you, Jane, for that. All the best, everybody, and see you shortly. Thank you.